Good evening and welcome to NewsBand Television, London. My name is Chima Christian, and today we'll be looking at Soludo's Endgame and P2B's prospects in 2023. Our conversation today is in continuation of the series of conversations we've lined up from now going into the 2023 general elections in Nigeria. Our guest today is Chief Ben Etiaba. Chief Ben Etiaba is the Anambra 2021 governorship candidate of the Action Alliance AA, and before that he was an aspirant in the platform of the All Progressives Congress, APC. Chief Ben Etiaba is a man of many hats, an accomplished accountant, member UNTH Board of Trustees, former chairman Enugu Sports Club, past chairman ICANN in United Kingdom District, past chairman also of London Group of Nigerian Professionals, and he's a former consultant to Riggs and Company International Private Bank, Barclays Private Bank UK, and other institutions. Chief Ben Etiaba will help us unpack the topic because of his knowledge about his political participation, his proximity to the two dramatis personnel by number one, Soludo, and then that of P2B. And then as the program goes out, I believe our audience will see the bona fides of our guest as to why we have invited him to eminently look into the topic under discourse. So Chief Ben, you're most welcome to the program.
Good evening, Christian. Good evening, audience. I'm delighted to be on this platform tonight.
You are quite conversant with elections now, and having gone to the primaries of the All Progressives Congress, and then has also gone to the primaries of Action Alliance. Then eventually you went on to the general elections in the Anambra 2021 governorship elections. So you're fairly knowledgeable about what will be going on now. When you escalate it to the national level, what do you see or what do you think the candidates are doing and should be doing at this point?
All right, okay, the primary season is over. We have the candidates of various parties. We have 18 parties in the election, each fielding a candidate. As we speak, no candidate has stepped down for anyone or to discontinue their aspiration. So we still have live 18 candidates, all sort of going through the hustings. What is different this time is that the period of campaigns much longer than we used to have. It used to be a short 3-month campaign period, but now we have much longer. So it's giving us enough time to assess the candidates, allow the candidates to make their mistakes, for us to see the weaknesses and the strengths of each party and each candidate. So it's actually quite exciting this time around. And some of those issues I believe we'll be touching on this evening on this platform. So I'm excited that this time around, we seem to have out of the 18, at least 4 major candidates in the election. And I think also it will be foolhardy for anyone, any pundit, political pundit, to dismiss any candidate or any party, though we can tell from what's going on, who's gaining traction, who is steady, who's falling behind. But like I said, it's exciting, and the electorate and Nigerians are going to be better for it at the end of the process.
The governor of Anambra State, Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo, is not new to you. Could you lay out your relationship with him?
Okay, the one I ran against him in the last election for governor. He won, fairly. But before that, our paths crossed when he was CBN governor. I think it was in 2005, and I was chairman of the London Group. So he came to meet the business community in the UK, not just Nigerians, but the UK business community. And I had to be there as the chairman of the London Group. And then I had finished my tenure as the chairman of ICANN in UK. So, we got acquainted then, and we've had a long-standing personal friendship and family friendship over those years. So he's somebody I know, and it's somebody I respect. And what else can I say? He's the governor, so we're praying for him to succeed.
Did you congratulate him when he won that election?
Of course I did. I did, and I wasn't alone. I wasn't the only candidate that did so. I believe Val Ozibo of PDP did congratulate him. I believe that what's my friend's name? Obiora Okonkwo did the same. Quite a number of candidates congratulated him. It was, I think he won fairly and squarely, so there wasn't much rancor, post-election rancor. And if you also notice, the post-election litigations were minimized. And that's what elections should be. You fight cleanly, unite behind the winner, let the state move on. And it's not about me, it's about getting it right for the state. And like I said, I want him to succeed. It's not in my interest to see him fail for whatever reason. I only have one state, and that's Anambra State, and we can't all be governors.
So for you, politics is without bitterness?
Yes, like Waziri Ibrahim of GNPP. If you recall, I'm not sure you were born at the time, Christian. I don't know how old you are, or you look younger than myself. Yes, Waziri Ibrahim reminds us of politics without bitterness. And that's what I believe in. It should be about issues. It shouldn't be about name calling. I mean, I find it nauseating when I hear people, sort of trying to damage others because of politics, because of election. You just feel it's, free and fair. All is free, is fair in war. And after that, you unite and say sorry. No, come on, it doesn't work for me. I'm here to discuss the issues tonight, and I hope, we stick to the issues.
That's very correct. I also want you to lay out also one other fundamental relationship. What's your relationship with Peter Obi, the Labour Party presidential candidate? Okay,
I think my relationship with Peter Obi is very well documented. I think most Nigerians who know the political career of Peter Obi will also know the role of the Etiabas, my mother in particular. But Mr. Peter Obi is a friend that I've known for over 30 years, before he even aspired to lead Anambra State. He was very close to my late brother-in-law, so we're friends in England. And I used to be quite enthused by his passion for Nigeria. When you see him speak about Nigeria, the issues bedeviling us in Nigeria, he's not doing this because he's running for president. He's been like this for the last, at least I've known him to be like this for over 30 years. So, and I'm sure he was like this before I met him. I have friends who've known him for longer who can attest to that. So he is somebody I know to be a person of integrity. He's somebody I know who has been my governor and has been my best governor to date. I'll say it anywhere. He's not perfect. We're not looking for perfection when it comes to leadership, but we're looking for somebody who has the interest of the masses at heart. He quite clearly has the interest of Nigerians at heart. When he was governor, he worked for the many in Anambra, not for the few. He just doesn't believe in elitism when it comes to politics and leadership. He's always there for the masses. And I'm looking forward to what Nigeria can become if Lady Luck says it is him next year. I'm actually excited. I'm looking forward to that.
Now you know these two gentlemen, and were you enthused or were you disappointed, or how did you react to, I'm sure you must have, if not you've read the unduly long essay, you may have had snippets from that. So what was your reaction when one of your friends, or maybe you didn't describe him exactly as your friend, but one of your associates had written a long essay, seemingly pouring cold water on the aspirations of another acquaintance of yours?
Okay, Governor Soludo is a long-standing family friend. I have to add that as well. Not just a friend to myself, but to my siblings and my mother. So, in Anambra, it's a family affair. I was a bit surprised, to say the least, when I read the essay you're referring to. But I think the governor was well entitled to his own views. I think he was expressing his own personal views. I don't think he was expressing any views on behalf of myself or any other person in Anambra State. He was speaking for himself, to which he's entitled to. One thing that I kept saying a number of times over and over again, in those essays, I mean, anybody can take any view. You can't fault anyone for taking any view. But he kept stressing, this is where I will disagree with him, that Peter cannot win, Peter Obi cannot win, and Peter Obi knows he cannot win. That is not true at all. He knows that Peter Obi can win. Indeed, anybody telling you that Peter Obi cannot win is telling you that because they know that he can win. Indeed, if I may go further, I'll tell you that this election, as it is today, is Peter Obi's election to lose. You know, you have to pull almost a rabbit out of the bag to snatch it from him. If, as I believe, the president has expressed over and over again that the next election will be free and fair, if that election is conducted freely and fairly, our private polling, I'm not talking about the public polls you've seen. I mean, all the public polls indicate that Peter Obi is quite clearly ahead. Labour Party will win this election. You've seen that. Various polls. I'm not even talking about that. We have commissioned private polling, okay? And these polls are updated every 2 weeks. And they keep pointing to the fact that as the days go by, the candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, is gaining traction in most zones of the Federation. I say most zones, and let me not say in all the zones, but that's the report we're getting privately. We're monitoring it, and that has been helping strategically to reassess the campaign in the remaining weeks that we have before the polling in February next year. So anybody that tells you Peter Obi cannot win, they are jittery. They are telling you that because they know precisely that he is poised to win a free and fair election next year in Nigeria.
So you mentioned that Soludo is, quote, speaking for himself. And then I'm sure you must have had arguments about party structures, party systems, and the rest. When he speaks, he is, at least for now, the only governor on the platform of his party, the All Progressives Grand Alliance. We also know that that party, through the instrument of election by fiat, which is the core caretaker committee, is controlling the 21 local government areas in the states. Out of 30 member state House of Assembly, that party is controlling, I think, 24, as at the last count, 24 members of the State House of Assembly. That party has been in office in Anambra State since 2010 and have continued to do well in local elections. They have not been able to replicate that result acknowledged in national elections, but you won't wave them off with, you can't wave them off their impact in Anambra elections. So when a governor who controls this structure speaks, how confident are you that he's not speaking for his party, that he's speaking for himself?
Thank you very much, Christian. When I said the governor seemed, I mean, he didn't tell me who he was speaking for or on behalf of. That's my opinion. When I said he seemed to be speaking for himself, I said it advisedly because APGA, his own party, has a presidential candidate who has not stepped down. Is he telling us that the erudite Professor Peter Umadi, the retired Chief Judge of Anambra State, is no longer running in that election? Or that somebody of that stature is in that race just to waste his time? We have not heard that. So I say he's speaking for himself because APGA as a party is yet to come out to say we're no longer running, or we're backing a different party, or we cannot win. So that's quite clear. But regarding what you say about the governor APGA controlling all the local government areas of Anambra State, let me remind you that candidate Peter Obi for president is running for the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and not for governor of Anambra State. He was governor of Anambra State many years ago. Okay, it's not about Anambra State. Anambra is 1 out of 36 states. But let me even discuss Anambra with you. When Mr. Peter Obi ran for governor of Anambra State in 2002, culminating in the 2003 election, nobody had ever heard of Abga. Nobody even ever heard of him as a politician. Within 6 months, he was able to turn a brand new party into a mass movement that was able to dislodge what Abga is representing today. Then it was PDP. He was able to, within 6 months, dislodge PDP from all that they represented with all their structure in Anambra State to win that election against all odds. So what I'm saying to you is that it is not about what is, it is about where we're headed. The Anambra are united in one thing, the same as the people of the Southeast, as of the Southwest, as of the South-South, not Central, not East and Northwest. In unison, they want to see a better leadership in place. It is nothing to do with Governor Soludo at all. In fact, Governor Soludo is not on that ballot. It's not on that. He's not running on that election. So it's nothing to do with him. He's only merely giving his opinion, to which he is entitled to. I've said that several times. It is about Mr. Peter Obi. He's the only one of the people you have mentioned who is on the ticket. So it's about him, not about anyone else, not about me. It's not about, I ran in Anambra, so this is not Anambra. We're talking about Nigeria. But what I'm saying to you is that, look, this is not about Anambra, it's not about the South, it's not about Igbo. Mind you that Mr. Peter Obi is not the only Igbo candidate. I hope you know this. You have other Igbo candidates, presidential candidates. So for him to have gotten to a stage where the discussion is about him, if you're talking to APC, they are worried about Mr. Peter Obi and Labour Party. If you're talking to PDP, they are worried about Mr. Peter Obi and Labour Party. The same thing with NNPP. Why do you think it is so? If this man is not making the inroads that the established politicians find threatening, they won't be bothered about him. They won't be bothered about telling you that he will not win. Remember, I said so tonight. As we speak this evening, the election is his to lose. He can win, and by his grace, he will win.
Please, I have a question for you. My name is Savior Ekpe. I'm a journalist.
Savior, could you please retain your question, and then on to the second half of the program when we'll open the phone.
Okay, it's okay, no problem. No problem.
Thank you, Savior.
Oh, okay. So your submission is that we will get into the second half of the conversation where you will take questions from the audience. And then also we're looking at two things together, Soludo's Endgame and PDP's prospects in 2023. While you're not a prophet, at least I took my time to read your CV, I didn't see where you made a claim that you're a prophet, so you can't see the future. But I wanted you to hazard a guess as to what you think is Soludo's endgame. And I can give you a few things I've heard on the streets. One is that people who read that, especially from the public comments that I've continued to curate as a member of the attentive public, people tend to say, oh, there is this feud between the two. Oh, this is politics of bitterness. Oh, he's trying to extract his own pound of flesh from unfinished businesses years ago. That's on one side. Some say, oh, this man is running for president in 2030, whatever, that he feels that if he supports Atiku to have done 8 years, then after Atiku must have been completed his 8 years, that he will have completed his 8 years as governor of Anambra State, and perchance the most visible Igbo politician that will inherit, as against having Peter Obi take a bite at it for 4 or possibly 8 years, and that will dim the chances of him getting it after P2P. So people say, look, this man's endgame is a long-term play. The other people are saying, oh, this man is someone that is standing up to bullies, because as you may know, there is an increasing global trend of cancel culture, where if you don't stay in line, people cancel you. We've seen this happen to celebrities. We've seen this happen to brands. We've seen this happen to, including political figures. And when he did say, or he gave the idea that he was not going to support the P2B movement, he seems, or there seemed to be an attempt to cancel him. And then the man stood up to, in quotes, to the woke culture or to the cancel culture. So three things. The guy wants to stand up for his rights. The guy is playing a long-term play. And then the guy is trying to extract a pound of flesh, his own pound of flesh from an unfinished business. I don't want to limit the options to these three. So if you know more, you could add. But what do you think after reading those essays? What do you think inspired? Because there must be a spirit behind the letter.
All right. Okay. You've tried to answer a question that you're posing to me. And that question is only a question that one person and one person alone can answer properly, and that is the governor. But to me, whatever his motives are, and let's look at them. If he wants to stop P2B now because he feels it should be his turn in a few years' time, that'll be playing God, won't it? Who is to know, who will be alive next week? Not to talk of next year, not to talk of in 8 years' time. Who is to know how Governor Soludo's tenure will end in Anambra State, not to talk of what happens after that. So we cannot play God. That's what I'll say. In terms of whether that is his motive, I wouldn't know. He is the only person that will know what the motive is. Now, if he's trying to exert a pound of flesh, again, it's up to him the sort of politics he wants to play. I wouldn't know. But what I do know is that at no time over this period has Mr. P2B gone against Governor Soludo publicly. He has never done that. So whatever the motivation is, I don't know. It might be none of those. And can I even say this to you? Maybe there's even a different motive. Maybe Governor Soludo is trying to help P2B. Have you thought about it? Maybe he's even trying to help candidates P2B. Because what has happened is that inadvertently, whether that was meant or not, those severings coming out of Oka have served to strengthen the candidature of Mr. P2B as a Nigerian, pan-Nigerian candidature rather than an Igbo or Southeast candidature. Because quite a number of friends of mine up north in the Southwest are telling me that, look, Ben, we thought this was an organized ethnic bid to snatch the presidency, the leadership of Nigeria, but we can see that it is not. So we are adopting him, Mr. P2B, as our candidate. He has actually strengthened the hand of Mr. P2B. Whether that was meant or not, again, I'm not the person to answer that. So what I do know is that whether by accident or design, P2B is stronger for it than he was. Remember and recall that I told you that we've been doing private polling. And these are the results we're getting too. The private polling is telling us that Nigerians of other ethnic extraction are embracing Labour Party and Mr. P2B in droves because they have seen him as somebody who's not an ethnic candidate. And that's what he should be. If you look along, just look at the major candidates, you'll see that one, in my biased view, stands head and shoulders above the rest. That's what we should be talking about. You mentioned political structure earlier. Political structure in Anambra State failed in 2003. By the way, in that election, my mother was also elected deputy governor of Anambra State. So I monitored closely what happened then. I knew, just like as in Nigeria now, leadership had completely collapsed in Anambra then, as it has collapsed in Nigeria now. Perhaps it will take the same person who recreated Anambra State to what it is today to do the same magic nationally, so that all of us can at last begin to enjoy the benefits of citizenship. Yes, I know we're talking about Anambra, but Anambra is just one out of 36 states. And by the way, Soludo himself admitted that Peter was going to win Anambra anyway. So what are we talking about here? The people are looking up to candidate Peter Obi. And of course, his vice, Etiaba, as the ones to take us out of darkness and into light, as the ones to take us from where we are in Nigeria to where we should be, not just nationally, but globally. We have so much going for us in this great nation, but we lack one thing. And that is the one thing that Mr. Peter Obi has offered himself to resolve. And he deserves our support, irrespective of ethnicity or religion. Thank you, Christian.
If we go by public records, only 2 presidential candidates have, as of today, paid a visit to Governor Chukwuma Soludo, an official visit to him to possibly inform him, intimate him of their aspirations, and possibly solicit for support. And those 2 candidates are 1, Mr. Peter Obi, and 2, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Perhaps Soludo may have other fora engaged his party's candidates, the former Professor Umadi, but there is no public record that Professor Umadi had paid him an official visit to solicit. Maybe that's not necessary, I don't know. But the point here is that in those 2 visits, they were public events, and Chukwuma Soludo said things. In one of the events, he reminded his visitor that his party had a candidate and that there are other Igbo presidential candidates. And then in the second visit, he seemed to be singing a different song. Did you monitor the speeches made at those 2 different events?
Not at all. I actually don't devote a lot of time to personal opinions of anybody. Because like I said, if you're speaking for yourself, you're entitled to that. If I speak for myself, I should be entitled to it. On this platform tonight, answering questions. But whereas we are probably not too happy with the essay written by Soludo, if I may call it an essay, we should also remember that at the beginning, he graciously availed one of the council chambers, a government house, to Mr. Peter Obi to declare his intention to run for president. Let's not forget that. The issue that bothers you, because you keep coming up with it, and there are quite a lot of people, you're not alone in that, is what has happened from that point to where we are today. Let me tell you this. With every sense of humility, you'll notice that Mr. Peter Obi has been very gracious towards the governor in his replies. If you prod him till next year, he will never say anything uncomplimentary about Governor Soludo. Governor Soludo is his governor, he's my governor. He wouldn't do that. But not just that, it's not in his character to do that. He's not running to tell you that he's better than Mr. A, B, or C. He's running to tell you he's telling you what the problems are, not to tell you. He's telling you already what the problems are in Nigeria. And he's coming up with practical solutions that, if implemented, come on, we should be able to get on our feet. He has done it before. And, you know, people look at manifestos. Let me even talk about manifestos. People keep talking about manifestos. Look at people's track record. How many states have you seen any governor leave with lots of money left in the coffers for the incoming governor to inherit, to be able to continue with the plans of the state? If you know what is going on in Nigeria, the waste in government, you will know that we need next a president who will be frugal as Mr. P2B. We need to cut waste in governance and in government. The moment we do that, you will find that the savings should be able to help us a long way towards funding our budget rather than borrowing each time to fund our budget. We need P2B for so many reasons. We need to move in a completely different direction to where we're headed now. Everybody's lining up, hoping to keep doing the same thing that we've always done, we've always seen, and encouraging us that they are the ones with the structure, they are the ones that know how to do it, we should support them. But no, let us begin to look at Nigeria as a wounded lion that needs healing in order to become the giant that it should be. And by the way, Christian, if you're in a hole, what's the quickest way of getting out of that hole? It's not by digging. If you keep digging the same hole, you keep going down. It's to stop digging and find your way out. We need to stop digging and elect a president who is going to be serious-minded about leadership, serious-minded about the people, irrespective of tribe or religion. And that's the candidature Mr. P2B offers, supported by Etiaba.
You've mentioned in passing some of the polling that have been released thus far, and you also mentioned twice the private polling you commissioned, although you didn't state who commissioned it, but you kept referring to it as we. I wouldn't know if that is a coded language, but you mentioned that it's a private polling. If you wanted it to stay private, perhaps no problem. If you wanted, you could also take the opportunity to tell us more about that polling. But what I wanted to ask is this. Peter is leading in that polling, according to you, and in other pollings that we've also seen, he's doing quite well. And so what in your analysis do you think are the driving factors behind those trends?
Okay, Mr. P2B's campaign is being driven by the state of the nation. You know, if you look at all the indices of a failed state, you will find that we're near enough there. You will find that Nigerians are angry, Nigerians are hungry, Nigerians are frustrated, Nigerians are tired. These are the driving factors. At this point, nobody's looking at what your education policy is or health policy, because everybody's saying the same thing. We'll invest in healthcare, we'll invest in the education, we'll pay minimum wage, we'll increase it and all that. Everybody's saying the same thing. People are tired of hearing this. And people get in there and begin to take care of themselves and their families and friends. They are looking at somebody who will come in, be able to carry his own bag. We've seen him do that. He's been doing that over the years. He did it before he became governor. He did it as governor. He's doing that now. He's not doing it because he's running for president. For years after leaving office of the governor of Anambra State, he has gone round in some sort of national orientation exercise, blitz, telling our people what the issues are. Recall, I don't know if you remember, or if you recall when Peter was running for governor, he posed the question, are we cost or are we the cost in Anambra State? By the time he left, he touched all sectors simultaneously. Nigeria needs a micromanager at this point who is able to look at the fine details and be able to cut out the unnecessary waste that we see all the time. I mean, you've seen the new policy, CBN redesigning the Naira or changing the color or whatever it is. You've seen the effect. People are now bringing out stashed cash, rotten Naira notes. How insensitive in a nation such as ours, where healthcare is not available, education, our universities have been on strike or keep going on strike all the time. By the way, Even talking about the strike, ASU strike, I'm not sure you're aware that the only federal university in Anambra State did not join the ASU strike as a result of the deal struck by Governor Peter Obi when he was governor of Anambra State. The same thing is what he will do nationally. So that if your child goes into university for a 4-year, 5-year course, you know that in 5 years' time, they'll be out. There are so many reasons why we need to begin to do things differently. Politics is too important to be left only in the hands of politicians. That's why Mr. Peter Obi is in that race. That's why Yusuf Dati Ahmed, Baba Ahmed, is in that race. And that was why 2 years ago, I delved into the murky waters of politics in Nigeria with no regrets, doing it without money, as painful as it has been. Thank you.
Yeah, because you mentioned something during your campaigns, especially your campaigns to clinch the ticket of the All Progressives Congress. And when you eventually clinched that of the AA, you kept on mentioning, you were almost prophetic, although I don't see that in your CV, but you were mentioning and you were hoping to bank on the youth population. You've mentioned in several interviews that they were frustrated, they were angry, they were looking for more. And you wanted to tap into that. For some reason that didn't happen. Maybe perhaps at the regional level or the sub-regional level, they weren't ready, or perhaps something happened. But again, we now see that a candidate is now enjoying the benefits of that demography that you've always talked about. So why are the youth important in the national aspiration of Mr. Peter?
Okay, thank you. You noted I said all of that when I was running. So it will come to you as no surprise that I'm supporting a candidate who is saying exactly the same thing and who has always said it. By the way, he's not saying it because I did so 2 years ago. He's always said that. Now, in my own case, it couldn't work because in the eventual winner of that election, even the youth of Anambra State saw a champion that they could anchor their frustrations on. Somebody who wasn't a core politician. And my prayer is that the government is not distracted, that he lives up to that expectation, okay? And he would have earned the respect of somebody like myself as well, who thought that way. So it wasn't possible for both of us to capture those votes. He already was in pole position to capture those votes, and he did capture the votes. So we're sort of praying that he succeeds. In the case of Mr. Peter Obi nationally, like I said, he's not the only, in quote, third force. Why is it that everything seems to be about him? You see, we have all been gifted with different talents. I don't know the last time you heard Peter Obi speak. All the great leaders of this world, name them: Mandela, Martin Luther King, Obama, Margaret Thatcher, just name them. Clinton, Ronald Reagan, all have one thing in common: great orators. In the case of Mr. Peter Obi, he's not just an orator. He comes from an angle you least expect. One politician I heard the other was trying to describe him as an amoeba or something. Somebody you cannot quite work out the shape or the form. You can't pin him down to anything because he's always a step ahead of the pack. And that being smart and a step ahead of the pack will propel him into earning the votes of the youth of Nigeria that you're talking about. I will tell you that his campaign that you've seen so far, I know so, because I'm close enough to know, that it's those youth that are propelling the campaign, spending their own money. This is why it is very, very, very important that the election of next year reflects the wishes of the majority of the voters. If that happens, I believe Peter Obi will win. It has to reflect the wishes of the people. And if it does, any result will be acceptable to Nigerians. What we had in Anambra last year reflected the wishes of the people, the youth, the women, the elderly, the politicians. Nobody complained. And my biggest wish is that after the February election of next year, Nigerians will say, we got it right. Whatever the outcome, I know the outcome I want, and I know the outcome I expect, which I've told you many times, see me. It doesn't have to be that. I believe it will be that. But it must be a result that reflects the wishes of Nigerians.
You know P2B on several levels that people would not know. Your mother, who, by the way, you're very close to, served as his running mate for the 2003 elections you mentioned, and eventually, when they reclaimed their mandate in court, went on to serve for 4 years as his deputy governor. And then in the 4 or 5 months interregnum, I can't remember exactly now, when he was impeached, your mother held the court until he reclaimed his mandate in court. So while P2B is a very visible candidate, very few people can tell you that they don't know what to expect from his government. But I wanted you, as someone who knows him on a personal and a deeper level, to highlight some of those core fundamentals that reinforce your belief anytime, any day, that Peter is the best man for this job. If there are anecdotes, that will be more helpful for this conversation.
Okay, I'll tell you this about Mr. P2B. His word is his bond. He's a man that tells you what you don't want to hear, but that's what he believes in. And because you know he is sincere, you are quite able to accommodate his view. I mentioned earlier his unimpeachable integrity displayed in his years at every leadership cadre. He has not only led in politics, he has led several in the corporate world, and it's not easy to do that without a blemish. Okay? He's a man that is completely focused. He's a man that thinks about legacy rather than enriching himself. He's wealthy enough, doesn't need more, shouldn't need more, and doesn't need more, and is not going for that. He's going for legacy. His greatest wish is to be given an opportunity to show that the Black man can lead and lead effectively. He's not the only one who will show that if by his grace and when by his grace he succeeds. Look at what is happening in Rwanda. Paul Kagame, just a few years after the Civil War, they've managed, like Phoenix, as a country, to rise out of the ashes and to become a better nation out of it. Let me even talk about the Civil War. Has it occurred to you that 9 years after the Civil War, that Nigeria went to the polls in 1979? In that election, you had an Igbo man, Nnamdi Azikiwe, who stood a good chance at the time of winning the presidential election. Then you had 3 other parties, PRP, Aminu Kano, Awolowo, the plastic now escapes me, UPN, I think. You had GNPP, Waziri Ibrahim. That's akin to what is playing out now, okay? In that election, not only was Nnamdi Azikiwe an Igbo man 9 years after the war, poised, positioned to a possible presidency. The remaining 3 parties all chose Igbos as running mates. Awolowo chose Philip Umadi. Aminu Kano of PRP chose SG Ikoku, an Igbo man. GNPP, the man without bitterness, politics without bitterness, Waziri Ibrahim, chose Dr. Biyo Nzeribe, who died in 2018. Ekweme died in 2017. okay, and all that. So if 9 years after the Civil War, all the major parties chose Igbos as running mate, and one Igbo man ran as president of a powerful party, how come 40 years later, some people are getting jittery that Peter Obi might become the president of Nigeria? Why are they worried? I will always listen to one of our greatest brains alive today, Professor APC Musu, who asked a question poignantly. Why is it that whenever an Igbo man wants to become a Senate president, president of Nigeria, Chief Justice of Nigeria, or whatever, everybody gets worried? We have come to a situation where we are told that to become president of Nigeria, you have to go through one man. I mean, how funny can that be? You have to go through one man if you guys are serious to be president of Nigeria. I laugh. I've just told you 9 years after the Civil War, the position of the Igbo man politically, it has taken 40 extra years for us to be told we need to go through one man. I'm sure you find it strange. Nobody should listen to that. And by the way, power is not given. If anybody tells you they're going to give you power, run and run away so fast. Power is never given anywhere. If you wait for 4 years, for 8 years, someone else will come back again and tell you to wait some more. You go and make your case for it and be humble about it and present yourself as a pan-Nigerian candidate and not an ethnic one or a religious one. Christian.
Yes, I have some more questions, but I'll begin to make time for audience participation. But before I make time for that, let me quickly run through one or two, if time permits. Let me trace a line, a dotted line. You can begin to connect the dots for me. In 1999, when Nigerians elected Olusegun Obasanjo to become the president of Nigeria, Olufalaye was a candidate of the SDP, I believe. In 2007, when Nigerians elected Umaru Musa Yar'Adua of the blessed memory to become Nigeria's president, this same Muhammadu Buhari was the candidate of, I think, ANPP, right? So you had a Yoruba man being president, and you had divided Yoruba support. In fact, there was more Yoruba support for Olufalaye than there was for Olusegun Obasanjo. Same thing happened to Yar'Adua. There was almost a more unanimous adoption of Muhammadu Buhari against the final win, eventual winner in that 2007 elections. But when now you're talking about Igbos, people say, oh no, Igbos don't support their own. Igbos are not in unison. So is there ever a time, because it hasn't happened in Nigeria, that there was a time all the regions stood together and supported one of their own? Why is that a requirement for Igbos? Because I see discussions around Soludo, discussions about Anambra political elite, Southeast political elite. I mean, there are a few names we can call in the Southeast who are currently not on board with P2B. That's a given. But this happens also in other regions. So make sense of that phrase, often touted phrase that Igbos don't support each other.
Okay, I think it's a fallacy in this sense. First of all, you will never expect all of any ethnic group to go with one party. Let's go to the North. Are you telling me that the Northwest are going with, even in this election, with one party? Or the Northeast with one party? No. In every zone of the Federation, you have citizens of that zone in various parties. And if you belong to a particular party, especially if you're holding a position in that party, it behoves on you to support the candidate of your party. Or if you decide that you're not going to do so, you resign from the position you're occupying, so you're free to sort of make your point. Even up north, you've seen Babashir Lawal, who is a member of APC, was saying no, because of the Muslim ticket, I will support Mr. P2B. So in no zone do you have a unanimity of support towards any particular candidate. The Igbos will say we're Republicans. We have minds of our own in Anambra State. We've just been talking about it. The governor thinks differently. That should not surprise you. Like I said, he's entitled to that view. I disagree with him because I see what is happening as a golden opportunity for us to recalibrate Nigeria. These opportunities are few and far between. If we miss it this time, and I doubt that we're going to miss it this time, but if we do, and God will not allow us to do so, the opportunity may not come again. Because if the powers that be had any inkling that a candidate was going to leave PDP, join a different party, emerge as a very strong brand in this election, they would have stopped him at the primaries. But they didn't know. So by default, we have a golden opportunity to elect a selfless Nigerian as the next president of this great nation.
One final question before I open up. We have a long list here. I'm not sure we'll exhaust it. One final question before I open up, because I see a lot of hands up here who are waiting to make their contributions or ask questions or to seek clarifications as to some of the points you've raised. Is that you have said if free and fair elections are held. I think I heard you repeat it once or twice. If free and fair elections are held. And let's talk about free and fair elections. In 1993, it was an outright annulment. We made some progress in 1999, and we found ourselves snatching ballot boxes, using towels, cudgels, machetes to snatch ballot boxes. And we now progressed, and I'm not speaking in absolute terms, I'm speaking in relative terms, to a place where we sent a few senior advocates of Nigeria to go to Supreme Court to snatch that same ballot box for you. That's a progress from 1993 to 99. And then to Supreme Court is also a progress. But today, there are insinuations in some quarters that despite the leaps and the improvements Nigeria has made in election management, in election litigation, in electoral reforms, and all, that there are still avenues for further improvement, and there are still suspicion, and that's why people keep prefacing it with if. Tell me how confident you are about Nigeria's electoral process and what you expect in 2023, vis-a-vis that you've mentioned in your opening remarks or in one of your responses, that the president keeps promising that there will be free and fair elections. If things are working well, do Nigerians have to rely on the promise of the president to believe that the elections will be free and fair?
Okay, let me start with your last comment. If things were working well, the president won't even bother to make any comment about the election, because making such comment on its own will amount to somehow influencing the process. But things are not working well. And I believe, Mr. President, I believe that Muhammadu Buhari wants to leave a legacy of a free and fair election for Nigerians as his lasting gift and parting gift to this nation. Don't forget the fact that he fought a number of times and he believed that he was rigged out. I think in one occasion he may have cried. Okay, let us look at the elections. And you mentioned 1993. This was an election that MKO Abiola won. He won fairly and squarely, or assumed to have won, because the election was annulled. But recall what happened in that election. Abiola won everywhere, including in Kano, if I remember. He won in the Southeast. Do you know that Abiola won even the polling unit, or the ward, I'm not sure of a polling unit, but the ward of Sylvester Ugo, an Igbo man, governor of Central Bank of Biafra, who was running mate to Tofa, Bashir Tofa? He won. Abiola won against Tofa, yes, and Sylvester Ugo in that ward. So the Igbos are very fair, okay? we'll support any candidate that is good. Doesn't matter if you're from the Southwest or from the, we voted PDP so many times, whether PDP was fielding a Southwesterner or from the North. So if you look at elections, 1993 wasn't bad. 1999, okay, it was a military handover. So none of us can even tell you what happened. PDP won. 2003 was not much to write home about. Let's be fair. 2007 was so bad that even Yaradua, the ultimate beneficiary, apologized to Nigerians. Had he lived, believe me, Umaru Yaradua would have done what I believe Buhari wants to do for Nigeria this time. But unfortunately, he died. But since then, the elections have increasingly gotten better. Jonathan first won. In 2015, what happened? Nobody believed an opposition party could win an election against an incumbent in Nigeria of all places. APC won. And APC got re-elected in 2019. So increasingly, it is getting better. But we're not there yet. I believe that this next election, that we're facing next year, will end up being the best so far. I'm an optimist. I can always, if you know me, you will know that. But not being stupidly naive. Okay? But if you look at the processes, election is not a one-day affair. I hope you know that. There's a process, okay, that will culminate into the election of a candidate as the president. In this case, if it's a presidential election. So far, monitoring the process, flawed here and there, but moving in the right direction, okay? With the new Electoral Act and with the new accreditation and uploading equipment, beavers, the avenues, the days of snatching ballot boxes and of accreditation before election are gone. The accreditation happens. We experienced that in Anambra. Maybe that's why I'm a bit more optimistic, because I saw that in my own election. The accreditation happens at the same time as the election, okay? And that helps for a freer and fairer experience. So I believe that next year, and I also have every respect for Professor Mahmoud, the INEC chairman. I experienced him in Anambra, and I think he performed creditably. I followed him. I went to Ondo State to campaign for Governor Keredolu. He won his re-election. I saw INEC's performance. He was good. Anambra was next. He was good. Since then, we've seen other elections. And INEC, increasingly, they've been getting their act together. So I have no reason to believe that this will not be the same. The next one will not be the same.
Well, many thanks for that, Chief Ben Etiaba, who've been helping us to unpack our topic this evening, where we're looking at Soludo's Endgame and P2B's prospects in 2023. It's now time to allow one or two participants to seek for clarifications as to some of the points raised or to ask questions. Could you please, if you have a question, could you please signify by raising up your digital hands, walk around your device, you will see a place where you can raise your hands. I see one hand up, but I wanted to identify there was a person, I think it was Savior who wanted to ask before. So yes, Savior, you now have the floor.
Okay, yeah, I'm here. Good afternoon, everybody. Mr. Etiaba, I salute you.
Good evening, Savior.
Yes, good evening. I want to commend you on your good responses.
Hello.
I'm not asking you any question. I want to make some comments. Already, I'm a staunch supporter of Mr. Peter Obi, and we are doing everything. Already, you know, he's coming to Akwa Ibom tomorrow to flag up his campaign on Tuesday in Akwa Ibom here. So, what I want to, my comment is this. You made a point that this is a very golden opportunity for the Southeast to grab the presidency, that is my point also. But we have so many, we have some, as a matter of fact, some Igbo presidential candidates and all that. What is the position, if I may put as a question, can't the Igbo come together and see how to talk to other candidates? Already Peter Obi has, is a movement now, so nobody, it is a movement which we all support. So if Igbo now come together, meet other candidates and talk to them in the language they will understand. We understand that it is politics, it's a game of interest, but at this critical time in the life of the Southeast, they can give in and then see what to do. We are doing our part across the country. This is the very first time in the history of this country for this kind of a movement. We used to hear of protests in Yemen, in other in the eastern part of the world. And personally, I used to think that maybe it's not possible in Nigeria because one, we don't speak one language, we don't have one religion. But what has happened to Peter Obi now, I discovered that it is very possible. So if this has happened across the country, let the Indigbos sit up. Like what you said, it could also mean that Professor Charles Soludo is trying to help Peter Obi. You made a very good analysis there, which I keyed into it. So let Ndigbo, that's my point, sit together and see how to talk to others. We are, okay, for instance, we are going aggressive, in Akwa here, we are going aggressive on this matter. Okay, take for instance, what, even personally, what I do, sometimes I'm driving, I see people on the road. Normally I don't do that. I stop, I carry people just to present Peter Obi. And when like what happened today, somebody said, look, since you have carried me and I'm with this your request, I'm going to do it. I had to be collecting their numbers and their names and stop, so that toward the time I call them again and remind them. So let us all be aggressive to see. I'm a member of Peter Obi Support Network. I'm also a member of Presidential Campaign Committee in Akwa Ibom State here. So we are doing our best to make sure that Peter Obi image. So let me sit up. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Saviour. Can I, Christian, can I make a comment?
Yes, please, sir.
Okay, Saviour, thank you so much. I listened to you very clearly. Two things. Number one is that your comment about other Igbo presidential candidates coming together. I believe that will happen, but maybe not now, perhaps towards the end of the campaign. And it needs to happen late rather than too early, because like I said, this is not an Igbo project. It's a P2B project, okay? So and the Igbos never start together one day to say to P2B, go and run for us. No, it never happened. This is one man who is as frustrated as any youth of Nigeria and who knows what to do to get it right. And he's taken the bull by the horns and he's running with it. So at the right time, I believe the right decisions will be made. But for now, he took that decision to run. But let me even go further and saying that, it is P2B's vision to run, to salvage whatever can be salvaged out of the ruins of Nigeria. It's also not about P2B, and he knows it. It's about you, Saviour. It's about myself. Christian, it's about you. It's about Musa in the north, okay? It's about Ade in the southwest, Ogene in the south-south. It's about all of us, okay? The moment we begin to do this wonderful process, engage in this process, that do what Saviour has told us that he's doing, the better for us. It's not about Peter. Peter doesn't need to know what I'm doing tonight. He doesn't need to know what Saviour has done. All we need to do is together enthrone the right leadership, because if we do, we'll be the ultimate beneficiaries of it. Okay? And so I'll say thank you for doing that. And I pray that more Nigerians will have enough time. That's why I'm excited about the long campaign period we have. We have enough time to begin to continue to sensitize people, and do the right things so that we can enthrone the right leadership. We're not doing it for Mr. P2B. He's comfortable. His family, they're okay. Okay, whether or not he becomes president, he's going to be comfortable for the rest of his life. But let's make it a comfortable nation for the downtrodden, for the masses, for the many, and not the few, as we've experienced in the past.
Thank you so much. Before I bring up Prince Will, let me quickly ask, are you still a member of the AA?
Okay, you know, AA was the party whose flag I flew in the last election,
Yes.
and that candidature went with the election. I'm not running in any election now. I'm not running for Senate. Obviously, not running for president. Not running for House of Reps or State House of Assembly or governor. The governorship thing has closed in Anambra anyway. So no, it's not important at this stage. It's all about Mr. P2B, and that's why I'm here. About Labour Party, that's why I'm here. Yeah.
Okay, that's noted. Prince Will, could you please take the floor and then take 2 minutes to make your contributions or ask your questions?
Yeah, good evening. Can you hear me, Christian?
Yes, we can hear you. Good evening.
Prince Will, good evening.
Good evening, Chief Ben Etiaba. Is quite listening to you is like music to my ears. And I thank God I was able to switch in today, you know, to log in and listen to you make your exposition. I am the coordinator for P2B Support Network in UK and Diaspora. Okay. So we've been working before P2B actually joined the Labour Party. And we've done quite a lot of works, including so many summit we've had within Nigeria. But my question is this. Now that it's been established, based on the last question that Christian asked, that you are 100% obedient and useful, is it possible to see people like you, please take a front line to work with some of us in the diaspora through our network to make sure some of our projects are being implemented down home, because we are working with people down home. We have structures already down home. We just need people like you to help us push it by adding your voice. I know you might be doing something in the background already from the way you're speaking. I am 100% sure of that. But we need to see more of your time for you to bring them in just to assist us, help us to make what P2B can do. We are not doubting. We know it already. We come with strong apostolic zeal, but we are calling on you, please get more of your people of like minds, that things like you. We need people like you, please, because we in UK, we know you. We know you very well. We know you from Jamaica Street. We know you as a son of Virginia, so we know you very well, sir. We are relying on people like you. Please, please, please help us to push this. Thank you, sir.
Prince Will, thank you so much. What I'll say is that I'm taking a very personal interest in what you mentioned this evening. Try and leave your contact, and I'll get in touch with you within the next 24 hours so we can progress your ideas, okay? Every idea should matter. Every effort should matter. No stone should be left unturned. To get this thing done, it's not going to be easy. If anybody tells you it's going to be a piece of cake, they're lying to you. And when I say that this election is Mr. P2B's and Labour Party's to lose, I say it advisedly because I know that a lot of work will still have to go into winning. Nobody should think and sit back and think it's won. It's not in the bag yet until those votes are counted and recorded and announced. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So we have Technos back 7P. Your device is not named properly, but could you take the floor first, introduce yourself, and then make your contribution? Technos back 7P. Okay, in the absence of that, let me quickly jump to the next on the line. Elder Tango Ugochukwu, please, we yield the floor to you for 2 minutes.
Yeah, good day, the Lumba Group.
Tango, good evening.
Good evening, my brother. Etiaba.
Yes, that's me.
I remember your mother, a young lady.
Thank you.
Well, I always back on history. It will be great in politics today. Your mother is a very big contributor because she hold the ground to be returned from impeachment.
Thank you.
And she did great.
Thank you.
History of politics. will remember him. Coming to Soludo issue. Soludo is a governor, but he's still an individual. And what he said is still his opinion. And what Soludo said is what most of us know. And we have the feeling that this election is fixed. Is fixed the election. There's a plan of manipulation, and they plan it for long. Soludo said his mind, and people think it's against, or he said it purpose of to be in question. So what I'm saying now that we are all Nigerians, and we need a better country, better country. Out of the three, somebody is disturbing. Out of the three major candidates that is contesting now, the three front runner, which will be stand the best, both in everything, healthy-wise, everything-wise, which will be stand the chance. But what we are saying is that the free play, how the game will be played, is it on a clean table or the game we play on a dirty table? This is one question you answer me later. And another one again is politics is always with interest. Like now, somebody like you didn't get it through your party AA. Now you're supporting Obi, which is a good sportsmanship. Somebody will not blame you. Say, why was there before today? Why are you here now? So politics is a game of interest that will benefit the people or whoever you represent. Coming to 2 days ago, yesterday, incident in Anambra, I took visit. If you are in many Facebook, you will see my comment I made about how when I think was turning around the whole Nigeria, he visited every emir in his palace, other people in their palace. But in Anambra own, our elders or rulers, the beasts, Igwes, we are packed like students and to the governor's house. Is it good enough? That's why my comment was that he looks so. Hello. My comment is that you will comment on it when I finish. When I finish. So what I'm saying in politics now, we should be locked. Nobody's against Obi, but our problem is that whatever you say your mind, people will say you are against Obi. And only Igbo vote will not give Obi the presidency. Nobody can win Nigeria election with only his tribe vote. As Nigeria, as corporate is Nigeria, it must cross region, cross corporate. Being that the whole Nigeria now have accepted obedient movement, we wish Obi good luck. But a lot of things in politics that is not normal. But I hope we manage and patch by time. Thank you, my honorable.
Okay, thank you, my brother. First of all, will the election be clean? My optimistic side will say that I believe it will be cleaner than it has ever been. But no election is clean, indeed, anywhere in the world. We know that. It's just a relative thing. Regarding the Igwes, they've issued a statement. They did issue a strong statement yesterday. And the statement was to the effect that they did not know that they were going to be presented with a candidate to host. They came for their meeting, their end of year meeting, and that was what happened. Now, the issue is who got it wrong, and what was the intention of whoever got it wrong. I'll leave that.
Somebody is disturbing at the background.
Yes, I'll leave that to you to sort of decipher. So the Igwes did not know that they were going to be hosting Atiku. It just happened, and it has happened. I think that some of these things are done to gain unnecessary mileage, but you can gain that mileage in the immediate. But once the true story comes out, it actually backfires. So I see no brownie points there gained. Thank you for the compliments. Thank you for all the great things you said about my mother. And I'll make sure she gets to hear about that because she's 80 now and she lives for all these wonderful comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
TechnoSpark 7P, are you able to unmute yourself and ask your questions or make your contributions now?
Yeah. Thank you very much. My name is Kelechi Anekwe. I'm calling from making this video from Ile-Ife in Osun State.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been interesting with you tonight, actually. But this obedience movement, I don't know. I don't know how. I just want to know if there are proper arrangement into the grassroots itself. I live in a remote area in Osun State. People around me, I think I've been able to canvass. We have a group here. But I don't know if Labour Party from the top, if they have special arrangement going into the grassroots itself. I'm only having it that I think we are the only one, me and my guys, we are the only one working. And we have put in everything to make sure this becomes a reality.
Thank you.
I don't know how the Labour Party can get to that level too. That's my question.
Okay. You know that
Chief, do you want to answer that question?
Yeah. Let me take a question at a time, one question at a time. Otherwise, we'll have too many questions and we'll begin to lose touch of what we're talking about. Yeah. Thank you, my brother, Mr. Nikwe. Yeah. Thank you for the great work you're doing. For Labour Party to win the presidential election, it has to be a mass movement. And a mass movement it has since become. Because you don't have enough time in less than 12 months to build a structure nationwide to win a presidential election. But you can win a presidential election if you forget about the quote structure and turn the candidature into a mass movement. That is happening now. As a matter of fact, I told you what happened in Anambra State in 2002, where Mr. P2P was able to win an election within 6 months with a newly registered party nobody had ever heard of. Him being a candidate nobody had ever heard of. But was able to win by turning the APGA you know today with structure. He won with no structure, but by turning it into a mass movement. And that is the same thing that will win this election, and then the structure can now follow after that, okay? And when we talk about the front runners, we keep talking about 3 front runners. But if you heard what I said earlier, I kept talking about 4 front runners. Let nobody underestimate the strength of what the NNPP candidate is doing, because what he's doing is also helping us. He's taking a lot of votes away from the traditional players. And that means that at the Labour Party, that Mr. P2P and Yusuf Dati Ahmed are strengthened, even in the north. Thank you. Now, when I talk about the private polling, these are some of the things I'm referring to. And these are what the figures are showing us.
Thank you. Then briefly, please, the last one. I wanted to enlighten us about this vote buying issue. We just had our election states, I think months ago. Labour Party gubernatorial candidates didn't really come out. I think he has moved to PDP right now. And this vote buying issue is a serious issue again in our electoral process. It has really played a lot because here in Ife Central, where I stay, it used to be PDP. After that election, with the vote buying and the money they gave out, APC came out on top in Ife Central. I've been in Ife for 10 years now. At least I've witnessed some elections. PDP is always on top. But this last one, with the fact that they gave out a lot of money, each polling unit, they have about 10,000 naira for each vote, which I collected too. I got my PDP money, I got my PC money, I voted the PDP. Then what are we going to do about this vote buying issue at this coming election? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I didn't get your name because the line wasn't very clear when you started, but I get the gist of what you're saying. So please permit me to just go straight without acknowledging your name. Now, the issue of vote buying can work. I've seen it deployed against myself. It can work in a senatorial election. It can work in a House of Reps election. It can certainly work in a governorship election. But take it from me that vote buying can never elect a president. No. I listened to Babashir Lawal, the former SGF, who was making the same point that even if you're given half of the money in central bank, you can never win a presidential election by buying the votes. Because vote buying just doesn't rely on you having the money to give out. It relies on you being able to police that money so that it doesn't go into the wrong hands, so that you don't just sort of empower and enrich politicians. Okay? You cannot buy in a presidential election. In the governorship election, you can do it because the state is very small. In all the 36 states of the federation, who are you going to use? They'll pocket your money. I've seen that. Even in governorship elections, they pocket the money, not to talk of a presidential election that they have no relationship with whoever is bringing the money. They'll think it's their piece of cake, it's their own cut of the Nigerian pie. So anybody who's contesting to win must be popular to win. Let me give you one example. This next election, Muhammadu Buhari will not be on the ballot. That name will not be on the ballot for the first time in so many years. For the first time, it will not be on the ballot. So what that means is that his party, that usually will be guaranteed of 12 million votes from the north before you even cast a single vote, will not be enjoying that anymore. That is why you see the Kwankwanso of this political climb positioning themselves as beneficiaries of those votes that used to go to Buhari. Okay? Now, in the north, I don't care who you are in the past. You say you want to buy the votes, they'll take your money and vote Buhari. In the southeast, oh, you bring the money. I suspect I know who they will vote for. So let us not put too much emphasis on vote, but it can create marginal differences here and there, but it'll never be enough. You'll never buy enough votes to win your presidential election. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. The floor is yours, 2 minutes.
Well, thank you, and good evening, Mr. Etiaba, and
Good evening, my brother.
Everyone else. With regards to Soludo, from my own point of view, I think Soludo was quite wrong in his approach with regards to what he has been saying, because I cannot remember who actually made Soludo a power broker between PDP or APC. Even with his recent comment when Atiku visited him, he was saying that he has said it before, insisting that, that his former comments were right. And to me, that in a way is it's like he has arrogated to himself as the power broker between APC or PDP, who is going to win, which to me is quite arrogant and unbecoming of a governor of a state. On the other hand, in his former comments, he was insinuating a lot of things as if Obi is doing what he's doing to deceive people, which actually get to, right-thinking people. How can he be insinuating such a thing that Obi is trying to deceive people? Obi knows that he's not going to win. To me, that is not an opinion. That is insinuation. That is wrong. Absolutely wrong. You cannot do that. So Soludo has to calm down. He doesn't have a dog in this game, in what is going on. Why is he being so forward in order to in a way, tarnish Obi's image? I think he's too pushy. He should be a bit diplomatic with regards to what he says. We're not telling him not to tell the truth, but that is not how to tell the truth. If you want to say, okay, Obi's not going to win, nobody's going to attack you, that is your opinion. But to go ahead and, the roundabout way and keep insinuating a lot of things against Obi, to me, that shows that he's out of touch, really, he's out of order. On the other hand, I think Obi's prospects lies squarely in how the movement handles the grassroots, because Obi can never, or the movement can never outspend these two political parties in terms of having a huge crowd or, renting stadium and fill it up. So I think the strategy for Obi and his prospects is got to be, holding down the grassroots, getting, access to people, having boots on the ground. I know it's quite difficult in Nigeria, but that is, for me, I believe, is the only path where Obi can achieve this feat, because I think it's a very big feat that we're trying to, get to, but grassroots. And I want you to speak to that. How do you think this can, the grassroots movement can actually sustain the movement until Obi achieves victory? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, my brother. If you had listened earlier, you would have heard that I said that the people who are telling you that Peter Obi cannot win are the ones that know that he can win. And that's why they're telling you he can't win, because they are jittery. If they really did believe he couldn't win, they wouldn't say it. They wouldn't bother. They won't even bother about him. So they know that he can win, and they know that he's likely to win. And they're trying to scare a few people. And that's why you're getting those comments. Secondly, I think if you permit me to disagree slightly, I don't think I'll say that Soludo is wrong in holding an opinion. That's his opinion. He's entitled to it. And he's entitled to the repercussions of that opinion, which I'm sure he has experienced. And like I said, even our own evidence does suggest that those comments have actually come to backfire, and that they are comments that are serving to help the Peter Obi candidature. So nothing lost there. And if you also recall how Peter Obi handled the situation, that he was described as a trader, he said, yes, he's a trader. And everybody knows that he governed as a trader. He's not denying that. But we have a governor who's a professor. He will govern as a professor. And by the time you know it, a medical doctor will come in, or a lawyer will come in. The state will be developed in all facets. So let us not make it about Soludo. Soludo is not on that ballot. It's about Peter Obi. It's about Labour Party. It's about winning this election. It's about a new Nigeria. It's about rescuing Nigeria with an exceptional candidate. And what are we going to do with the grassroots to make it work? I explained earlier that the only thing you can do is to turn this thing into a mass movement that has been very, very cleverly done by an exceptional candidate. That brand is now a movement in Nigeria. And he's not the only one running under the banner of a small, quote, party or a third force, or the only one from a particular ethnic region. No. But people are flowing with him because his message, it's always about the message, resonates with the people. They look at the austere lifestyle that he represents. They look at his track record, and they see in him the hope for the future. He's always going to tell you it's not about him. It's about the future of our children and their generation yet unborn. I am supporting him 100% without reservation and without apology to anybody. Because in him, I see a different thinking. In the Peter Obi candidature, I see an opportunity to change course. In that candidature, at least we won't go back to doing things as we've always done it and expecting the result to be different. That's why I'm supporting Peter Obi. And that's why the masses are with him. So my brother, the way to do it is by all of us coming together to realize that this is not about us and not about Peter Obi, about our children and our grandchildren. It's not about any one man or his deputy. No. Everybody, all hands on deck. And believe me, by the time you know it, we'll get there. I believe we are poised to get in there.
We have three more questions. Because of time, our honorable guest, Chief Etiaba, I will beg that we lump these three questions together. And then when you take the questions, and then you also make your closing remarks with that. Is that all right, sir? So yeah, if you're not taking notes, I have pen and paper. I can take notes of the questions.
No, don't worry.
And
you can also help out, but I have my pen and paper. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. So Silbert Sylvie, Prince Solomon, and Rangwan Pam Jr. And while calling these names, are mindful that Nigeria title is a very important marker when you're calling people by their names. So I'm only calling the names that are on the screens. I'll rather suggest that in our subsequent meetings, you write your names and put the proper titles for easier identification. So in that order, Sylvester, you take the floor first, and after that, Prince Solomon, and then finally, Rankpan Jr. Sylvester, are you there?
Sylvester, please unmute. Unmute, we can't hear you.
Okay, while Sylvester is trying to sort out his device, Prince Solomon, can you take the floor?
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, let me start by thanking Mr. Ben Etiaba. Pleasure is my hearing from you tonight.
Thank
My
you.
name is Prince Solomon, Pastor Prince Solomon, the Abia State Coordinator of POSN. Thank you very much, sir. I wouldn't want to dwell much on the things you've talked about concerning the long list, the essay by the governor of Anambra State. You have actually, said enough concerning that, and all you said are true. You said the right thing. What he said has pushed our candidate further, and every other thing, and the things that people have said. Okay, I don't want to dwell much on that, but I want to go straight on this grassroots thing we are talking about. And the last person that asked a question said, how are we going to be able to galvanize all the votes? And in this sense, I want to say that politics is in stages. Of course, I know you, sir. You're a good politician. Is in stages, and the stage we are now, we have left the stage of registration, and the stage we are now is the stage of making people to pick their voters card. Can I tell you, sir, the number of people that came out to vote to register for PVC, if we do not coordinate as we coordinated in that mop-up, many thousands of them or millions of them will not collect their PVCs, and millions will not vote. And you can recall that the surge in those INEC offices or INEC centers to register them was because of the personality they saw, the personality of Mr. Peter. So this time around, I want to call on you and everywhere meaning Nigerians, because the POSN from the national level to our diaspora level to the state level, we have been doing enough. We have been contributing in whatever we are doing. All these levels I mentioned, diaspora, national, and state. So I'm looking up to well-meaning Nigerians, those who God have, those whom God have blessed in one way or the other, to come up this time around to assist, to help us make sure that our wards, our polling units, our people from different local government collect this PVC. It is on now. And if we don't coordinate to make sure that people collect this PVC, we can be saying a lot of things and you discover that we are going to lose a lot of votes. That is where I want to come in. I want to say, if we can, secondly, and finally,
Prince, your point is noted. No, could you Prince, could you please, if you have second question, could you write it out and send? We are running behind time. Many thanks for your understanding. Rankpan Jr., could you please take the floor and please make it under 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chima. A very, very wonderful job there. I don't know how to call you Mr. or Professor Ben. I have known people who have been born with a silver spoon, but you have, like, since infancy, you have been born into a political family. So let me say you have been born with a political spoon. With that in mind, I'd like to pose this question. It might be a bit complex, but please feel free to answer it the way you're comfortable. Can INEC, if bribe or compromise, change the outcome of the presidential election? That is one. The second brief question is this. In your opinion, do you think the Obidati and Labour Party
have a structure. If a structure is to pass information down and receive feedback back up, do you think Labour Party or Bidati movement have a structure? And if yes, can it be improved? If no, please advise. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rampan Junior. And before you take that, could you please accommodate the last question here from Sylvester Obi?
Okay, good evening. Good evening, all.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Sylvester.
Okay, my name is Sylvester Inefio. I'm calling from Akwa Ibom State. I'm state coordinator of Obi Depression Movement. Okay, sir. I so much thank God for today, or for tonight, rather. But I really want to say that, like what you said before, that people that know that Obi win are the people that are saying Obi will not win. Why? Because they know the ability, the information that the man is making. So, but my really concern here is that, like what the speaker said now, without us getting our PVC, very, very important, we will not take the mantle. Because I'm seeing Peter Obi stand for the masses. It's not just going there to run a campaign. We understand that being a one that's going to contest this particular position now. So this is our time. All the youth in Nigeria need this man. This is the last opportunity we have here in Nigeria. Because once we miss the opportunity, automatically we miss out. So if I go, Ahmed Tinubu, they knew that this man will win the election. But the really problem we have is that, please, let's try and call the Labour Party also. Let them also join hand with the groups to work. Because the Akwa Ibom State here, I think I have one of Akwa Ibom that join this particular meeting. We can tell they are not really active like the group, because once they are working, you take the mantle. Like if you really know why you understand that Akwa State PP state work by the grace of everybody, and I don't know the because our main every other not talking is for us to see how we can take the man to the sorrow. Let's just in on it. That is the goal that we are at. So let everybody work. Let's not just stay here. Thank you so much.
Could you round up in 5 seconds?
Okay, thank you so much. That just it. So I will let us. I will continue this particular movement because we need to work. We need to get that PVC. Let's just announce it.
Thank you. Your questions are noted by our guest, and he will address it in due time. Before you address Chief, I've been persuaded by Prince Solomon to give him 5 more seconds to ask his second question. So, Prince, the clock is ticking.
Thank you very much. The second question is straight to the point in respect to what happened in Ekiti State that made them to shift the campaign. From the coordinator of P2B Support Network, coordinator in Ekiti State, we heard that there were people who received the fund to pay for the campaign ground and all the mago things they did. So my question is, how can we, because this kind of a thing will demoralize a lot of people, how can we be able to fish out these people who are intruders, who are trying to mortgage our chances, who are working for the APC but they are in our midst? Or on the other hand, can the campaign, can the PCC, can they do some certain things directly and bypass so many people who we felt that are sabotaging our efforts? Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you so much, Prince Solomon. Regarding your observation about Ekiti and why the rally has been shifted, the party has issued a statement And I think we should leave it at that, at the basic level of statement that they have issued. Otherwise, there will be a risk of demoralizing people or even confirming things that might not be as it should be. The way I see this thing is that this is a moving train. And in a train, you have a lot of passengers. Not all those passengers will want to get to the same destination. Some will stop off at point A, some point B, C. People come on board for different reasons. Some people might come because they want to be a part of the experience. Others might come because they want to see if there's anything being shared to be a part of it. Others might come because they want ultimately for the candidate to win. But whatever it is, let us not be distracted, especially the ones, those of us who are completely committed to winning. Let's not be distracted. We don't have the luxury of time to be too critical. This is a very quickly cobbled up coalition of the willing to win power in Nigeria. It can't be easy. If anybody expected it to be easy, to be smooth sailing, then maybe they didn't think through the process. So these things are bound to happen. And that's not saying that I'm confirming anything you may or may not have heard. I'm not confirming anything. But the point I'm making is that things might not be as smoothly going as we'd like them to be. Regarding the point you made earlier, but we'll get it right at the end of the day, the PVC collection, we're all working hard with the support groups to ensure that those who registered get to collect their PVCs. And I'll at this point say thank you to you, Prince Solomon of POSN, P2B Support Network, because this is one campaign that I've seen being driven completely by the support groups. Nobody can dispute that. And all of you deserve a big thank you. Both the ones in diaspora and the support groups at home. In a few days' time, I'll be away from the shores of Nigeria, and I'll meet some of the people who are, who've been working for Labour Party and for P2B's election, Dati Ahmed's election in the UK. Okay, so with the party and the leadership and Mr. P2B appreciates you guys a great deal because you've been powering this thing. All those million-man marches, they've not been funded by the candidate, they've not been funded by the party, completely funded by the support groups. So, it remains to be appreciated. Ram Jr., I am very grateful to you. Thank you for the great things you said about me. And you were interested in the structure, whether there's a structure to get this thing down to the grassroots. That goes back to the point I've just made now, is that the party has a structure, national structure, all the way to the states, local governments, and wards, and down to the polling units. But we also have the added extra, much stronger than any party can boast of in this election. The same support groups that I'm talking about. So they are helping. These groups are helping in all the 774 local governments of Nigeria to bring this thing down to the grassroots. And of course, wherever you have a channel trickling down, the same channel will offer you the route to report up. But what you find is that it's like a pyramid. As you go up, it gets tighter and more constricted. So the communication channel, sort of constricts, and the information you're trying to pass to the top may not filter to the top the way you'd like it. But that's the nature of the game. It's not peculiar to Labour Party, not peculiar to the Obidati campaign structure. It's like that everywhere. But yes, the structure is there to get, and seen the structure work because, okay, I pray you watch what's going to happen in Akwa Ibom this week. I predict that Akwa Ibom is going to rival what you've seen in Imo State or Edo. They are preparing strongly. The mobilization team in town, on ground at the moment as we speak, getting ready. Yes, we know they give shishi, but the people are completely committed. This is one campaign that is so organic that when you see a crowd at the arena, they've come because they want to hear the next president of Nigeria speak to them. A man in whom a lot of hopes are riding on. So we pray for Peter. We pray for Dati. We pray for their families. We pray for all of us and all the support groups. Let us come together. And I'm trying to wrap this thing up. Let us come together and chart a new course for our nation, a new destination for our people, a new set of results for our kids unborn. Change the leadership to what it should be. And as Mr. P2B will say, Nigeria is long overdue to move out of consumption and into production. Look at China. Why is China a powerful nation today? They manufacture almost everything except human beings. We have the wherewithal to do the same thing in Nigeria. If in a process of 3 months during a war, a small nation pushed to the wall can come up with solutions, why can't a great nation like Nigeria, a bigger population, peacetime, more resources, better educated people now come up with better solutions to take us to the destination we want? Chris, I thank you guys for having me on board.
Yes. Many thanks for coming, Chief Etiaba.
Together, we must ensure that P2B, that year made, become our next president and vice president of this great nation. Thank you.
Chief Ben Etiaba, governorship candidate, IA, in the Anambra 2021 elections. We thank you so very much for your time and for your contributions to our program. We thank all our guests, those who connected to us via our Facebook and our YouTube live channels, and our in-house audience who participated via Zoom. We appreciate each and every one of us for the comments and the contributions. So we'll come your way again. This is a bye-bye from me. On behalf of the executive producer of this program, NewsBand Television wishes you a very good evening. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Oh, he has gone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chima. Thank you.
Pleasure is mine.